everyone, Alexa Donne here, and today I want to talk about a pretty heavy topic, which is grief and writing. I've been wanting to talk about this for a while because I've been grieving and I still have to write because I am technically a professional writer, but also we're gonna go over it. I like writing. It's been kind of like a therapy for me, but we're also gonna talk about how that's not always the way that it goes. And I'm hardly an authority. I have my own one specific personal experience with grief, but I have talked to a few other writers who have had similar experiences losing parents, as well as losing spouses in some cases. And I want to talk about when you go through profound grief. This isn't about kind of grief Olympics, but when you lose someone really, really close to you who's in a parental role or a spouse or a sibling, sometimes it could be a grandparent if that grandparent raised you, so parental role, it upends your entire life. And when you're a creative person, when you are a writer specifically, it can just throw everything into chaos. I've been kind of chewing on my own kind of responses. I've been going through the grief, and you might have seen pieces of it in some of my vlogs. I mean, I cried in my book deal announcement video. Oh, we're gonna talk about that. And then I got a question this week on Twitter from someone going through something similar who straight up asked me for advice. And I'd already started this outline because I pre-outlined my videos, and I was like, now's the time. I've been putting it off because this is difficult to talk about. And as you can tell, my thoughts are jumbled. We're going to talk about your brain and grief and how, yeah, you're maybe not as well put together as you once used to be. So I want to go over some of the things that can come up when you are suffering grief, going through grief, and you are a creative person, you are a writer. Some of the things you might expect, some of the things you might not expect, few tips for coping mechanisms. Just claiming that I am not a perfect person. I only have my own personal experience and kind of reactions, and I'm imperfect, and I'm also not done. I haven't even reached the 1-year anniversary today. Would have been my mother's birthday, actually. Go figure. Oh no. Okay, we're gonna talk about feelings and the things that trigger you. Triggers are so weird, but I know that I'm going to be a hot mess through the first year because everything's going to be new for the first year. And then probably long after. Grief is a rolling, continuing process. It's imperfect. It's not pretty. But what do you do if you're a writer, if you love writing, if you have deadlines, or even just if you don't want to lose the thing that you love that brought you joy, but now you have all these complicated emotions and problems and issues with the thing that you love because grief. So, the first thing I want to talk about is block versus writing as therapy, because I have found that you're going to have a different response depending on who you are, and it really varies and you cannot predict it. So the person who asked me for help on Twitter is having the block reaction. They lost a loved one, it was really traumatic, and now they cannot write. I must confess, I ended up a surprise to myself on the other side. So you are either going to end up being creatively blocked completely, because how can you go find joy in writing when you've lost someone? Or maybe that someone was connected to your work. Maybe it was inspired by them or important to them, or you wanted them to be proud of it. We can talk about that too. Feelings. And so you end up being blocked. I'm on the other side. Writing has been therapy for me. And I will say that if you are blocked, I encourage you to try to shift your gears to the writing as therapy one, which sometimes will mean maybe that project is just tainted. It's always going to be associated with the person that you lost. And maybe you can go back to it later when you're healed, but when you're actively grieving, it's just not going to work. But I personally moved into a very therapeutic writing project a few months after my mom died. And I only wrote 12,000 words of it. I vlogged it, but I found ways, it was a pre-existing idea, but I found ways to channel bits of my experience into it in a way that I have thus far found therapeutic, and it's a project I'm going to go back to when I'm done editing the Ivies, which we're going to talk about as well. And I'm excited to go back to it because I've read over what I wrote in August when I was pretty fresh and pretty raw, and I like what I wrote. feelings that I put in there about grieving. So I basically created a character who had just lost their mother to cancer, self-insert alert. She's otherwise not like me at all, also a teenager, but getting out some of those thoughts and ruminations of my experience were really helpful. And I also did this with the Ivy. So this is the whole writing as therapy thing. So my 2021 book, My YA thriller, I wrote it while my mother was dealing with stage 4 cancer, while she was suffering from stage 4 cancer and declining. I finished it several weeks before we knew that it was terminal and everything really got bad. So I at least was able to compartmentalize in that way, for which I am grateful that I at least finished it before it became a wreck. But then I did have to revise it over the summer to go on submission. About 6 weeks after my mom died is when I really approached that revision. And it's a book where a person dies. It had already been that kind of book because it's a thriller. And I found it therapeutic to revise my character's grief arc so that it felt authentic to what I was experiencing. So writing as therapy is some of us will go through that. I have honestly found it helpful. And so if you are totally blocked, I encourage you to try therapeutic writing, a new project. It doesn't even have to be something that you plan on publishing or sharing with anyone. Write a self-insert, right? Something about someone who's lost someone and channel some of those feelings, the things that you feel that you can't say to other people, the messy stuff. Put that on the page. That's what I have found helpful. And it's like, I don't want to make anyone feel bad. And I guess that's exactly what I put on the page. Some of the messier stuff, the things that I wanted to say, but I knew would make people awkward, and I have the characters expressing that, the more morbid jokes that popped into my head on the page. And so I have found that really, really helpful. This all said, the second thing I want to talk about is just a grief response thing. I call it Swiss cheese brain, and I've talked with other people who have experienced profound grief, and this is a thing. Essentially, profound grief messes with your executive function in a very specific way. And it's like you have holes in your brain. At least that's how I feel, Swiss cheese brain, where it's just harder to do everything as efficiently as you used to. When you're not going through that, yeah, maybe you're a super organized person who totally doesn't have problems hitting deadlines and getting back to people, etc. I feel so much of the time like my brain is a sieve. Like it's like water or sand just like slushes through, and like I'm less focused. I have trouble kind of concentrating on things for long periods of time, whereas I used to be like super aces at it. I'm rubbish at my email communication now. I mean, I was always not the best, but I've legit had things fall through. I've forgotten about things that I never would have before. And it's something that you kind of have to accept about yourself and the process. Luckily, I'm in a very understanding work situation. We get beyond writing at this point. Though writing could be your job, and hopefully have an understanding agent and editor. I do. My agent especially, we pushed back submission plans because I needed more time. But at my day job, multiple members of my team are also going through profound grief. We had a rough year, let me tell you that. But it means all the members of my immediate work team understand that some days our brains aren't working the way that they normally would, and we need more time to complete work projects, or we need to tap another person in to do something, because Swiss cheese brain has affected every single area of my life. So how has it affected my writing? I'm revising right now. My revision last summer, well, my agent went easy on me, possibly, or I went easy on myself. Either way, I did a nice little revision, and it sold the book. It's not like the revision didn't work, but I'm doing a more intense revision with my editor. I'm enjoying it in the sense that the book's already so much better. I'm about halfway done, but I have had so many moments of panic, where just I wasn't confident I could do it, where I was second guessing every single line, where the writing just didn't feel like it was coming together the way that it does sometimes for me. I felt everything I was writing was shitty. It might be. I'm gonna go back over it. And that's the thing with this revision, because of executive function, Swiss cheese brain, there are a lot of moving parts to the revision, and it's harder for me to keep track of all of them the way that I used to be super aces at it. So I'm having to take things more slowly. I'm having to take more pauses and breaks. I'm having to give myself far more pep talks than usual. And I've been needing external support far more. I've had to go to beta readers, CPs, my agent, and be like, please tell me that this isn't all terrible. I need help. Am I keeping these threads in order? And so in that sense, my writing process has clearly been affected / changed. I don't know how it's affected my drafting process. As I mentioned, I wrote 12K of something, but well, we're gonna find out when I finish this book and then throw myself into the next one. I honestly assume it's gonna affect me there as well, and all y'all are gonna cackle and laugh at me. I'm probably gonna have to outline more stringently than I ever wanted to, because I think it's the only way I'm gonna be able to keep my brain clear. Part of what's always worked for me as a pantser is that I can keep a lot of threads clear in my brain, but now I got holes in it. So yeah. And so generally just what I want to say if you're going through grief is you have to forgive yourself in almost every single area of your life that you are going to be a little less on top of things and put together and effective than you were before at pretty much everything, but it's definitely going to affect your writing. It's just going to vary what that means. And I do encourage you, if you're going through this, to reach out to other people. Don't be afraid to ask for help. And it's a rare overcast day in Los Angeles, and I realize the light has completely changed multiple times, so sorry for that. Anyway, grief. The storm clouds reflecting my mood. I'm kidding. Dark humor helps me. Your mileage may vary. So the next thing I want to talk about, I'm going to move out of how it directly affects your writing in terms of process and your brain and writing as therapy into just feelings. We're just going to talk about writer feelings that are going to come up, and yeah. So one thing that you have to deal with that's really emotional, oh no. This came up in my book deal announcement video. When you lose someone really, really important to you, generally speaking in our lives when we're writers, the people who are really, really important to us, we want them to be proud of us. We want them to read our books, and we hope that they love it. And there's always going to be anxiety about your family reading your book. I made a video, I think it was 2 years ago, and I don't remember what it was anymore. Maybe it was the AuthorTube newbie tag. It was some video where I had to address the question of your biggest fear with writing, and I said it was my mom reading my books because I cared so much about her opinion of my writing. And she did read my debut and she loved it, and that was a huge relief. But from here on out, oh no, you're gonna cry at really weird moments. And it's not even thinking about things always, it's vocalizing them that makes it hard. So that's why I fell apart during my book announcement video. When you lose someone, every single book, every single piece of art you produce from then on, but every single book, they're not going to read it. And the feelings there are intense. It sucks. And so every book you work on, and sometimes it hits you in the process. It's hit me on the new one. So the second thriller I'm working on, it's hit me multiple times just drafting that one, being she's not going to read it. It's hit me while editing the IVs. This is a book that I will forever associate with this horrible time in my life, but it's a book I'm really proud of, and she would have been so proud of it too. But even my second book, so that's the book that came out last month, The Stars We Steal, she never read it. My arcs came out after her diagnosis, and she was so ill, she never read it. It's just something I'm going to carry with me forever. And I'm not alone. This is a thing. Someone in my debut group lost their mother before their debut came out. And I'm grateful that my mom at least got to read my debut, but it's never going to stop. I have another friend, same thing. And it's something that she will always carry with her. She will carry it for every subsequent book. And it brings this extra weight to every book that you write, and it brings a weight to every happy moment. I basically did not plan a launch party for my second book because I literally could not handle it emotionally. My mom came to my debut launch in California. She flew out. She was here for it. She was so proud. And honestly, I put off planning a launch party, and I put off planning a launch party for the second one. And finally, 6 weeks out, I asked permission of a friend. It's not like I really needed permission, but I did. I asked one friend of mine, am I allowed to not have a launch party? And she said, you do not have to have a launch party. And I said, thank you. And I did not plan a launch party. I didn't want to celebrate. And honestly, the day my book came out was really hard. I was very happy on social media. You guys saw the happy stuff. I posted on Instagram. I did everything that I'm supposed to do. I went to a bookstore and like took a picture with my book and didn't like the way I looked, so didn't post it. But I cried multiple times that day. I was really miserable that day. I had a breakdown at work. And I asked friends of mine, I was like, let's have dinner. Spur of the moment. It was very last minute. I was like, I need to do something slightly happy on this day, but I'm very miserable, warning you, I'm not. Like, this isn't normal. And they were really good to me. But like, this is me telling you, I had a miserable launch day. I was patently unhappy. I did not enjoy it. I wasn't particularly thrilled that my book was out in the world. Like, it was fine. It came out, but I just wanted to get it over with. Just like today. So today would have been my mother's birthday, and I would just like to get it over with, please, and thank you. I don't want to think about it more than I want to. So you're gonna have lots of hard days. I don't know how I'm gonna feel when the Ivies comes out, to be perfectly honest. I'm probably gonna cry some more. I don't know how that's gonna be with the fourth book. Will I be used to it? Will it get better with every book? I don't know. So this is a thing that you will go through, and it's really hard to deal with. I'll report back as I see whether or not this improves. And that's the thing. Milestones change. Milestones that should be happy in your writer life and your writer career change. Maybe this won't be forever, but I have not had a single milestone since my mom died that hasn't been sad. I sold my book. I was sad. I was still happy, but I was sad. I got my ARCs for my second book, but when I realized she couldn't read it, I was sad. My second book came out. My paperback came out, and I was sad. So like, I know that's kind of obvious. You lose someone, so you're gonna be sad. I guess the point of this video is when you lose someone and you're dealing with grief and you're a writer, everything about your writing is going to be affected by it, and that's okay. Don't beat yourself up if you're not functioning the way that you want to be functioning. Don't feel guilty if on a happy day you're sad. I mean, I still did. On my release day, I felt bad because I was like, I'm supposed to be so happy right now, and I am living so many dreams, but I'm crying in a bad way, in a sad way. But it is the way it is. And it's okay to feel the way that you feel, but you just kind of have to go through it. And then I hope that you love writing because you love writing and it's something that is therapeutic for you, because honestly, my number one suggestion is that you have to go to the writing as something that is therapy for you. That it becomes something that can still bring you happiness, and it's almost a function of working through the sadness and the grief. And it doesn't mean that you have to write sad books. You could write a happy, distracting book and it still would perform the same function. Like, I encourage anyone who is really blocked by grief to try, because personally it has helped me. Even though all of those milestones, I've been sad, I'm very fortunate that I know how proud my mom was. And I'm saying to you, if you've lost someone, they were proud of you. Writing is a deeply personal thing, it's a difficult thing, but you just have to know that that person believed in you, believes in you. I like present tense. Present tense is nice, because I know my mom is proud of me. I don't want to get into belief systems, and that's one of those morbid, dark things that's going into my work, some of the thoughts that I don't want to share with people and make them uncomfortable. See, writing is therapy. But I carry that feeling with me, and it does help. If you had a more complicated relationship with the person that you've lost, I'm sorry. I know that sucks. I am definitely coming from a place of having absolute certainty of what my mom felt and thought. And that's nice, and I'm grateful for it. But I know that everyone's situation is complex and different. And I guess I'll just leave on, because I need to stop, because I've got like this is my crying eye. I have one eye that cries more than the other, and it's ruining my wing. But you're gonna be okay. I believe in you. They believe in you. And you're not alone. You're not the only person who's gone through this. I have found that when you go through something like this, people come out of the woodwork, people who understand what you're going through, not just in your writer life, in your general life. And definitely now when I see someone lose a parent, this happened last week, I reached out to them because I was like, look, I understand. You can vent to me. All thoughts are okay. All feelings are okay. And they reached out. You can find those people in the writing community as well. There are people who know what you're going through, and you are not alone. I've had wonderful comments on so many of my videos from those of you who have also gone through something similar. And we're all here and we're all still writing, and it's going to be okay. I apologize in hindsight, it's the end of the video. I did say I would ramble. It's a little rambly because your feelings get so weird. Grief is so weird. Grief and writing is so weird. I hope this has helped if this is something that you're struggling with personally, and it feels very weird to do my normal outro. You can give it a thumbs up if you want, you can comment down below if you'd like, and you can subscribe if you're interested, but yeah, grief is weird. Let's just say, I hope you're okay. I hope this helped. And thank you as always for watching, and happy writing.